Good morning, everyone. This is Jasmine, aka Gladiator in Sweats, and I'm here with your daily tarot forecast for Saturday, June 23rd. So, happy Saturday to everyone. Hope everyone is having a decent weekend. What we have here for the energetic reading for today is Nine of Wands, supported by Seven of Swords in reverse, with the guidance being the Knight of Swords in reverse, supported by Strength in reverse. And bottom of the deck here is King of Swords. So, I actually had this King of Swords card come up yesterday when I was doing the tarot reading, before I did clarification and all this stuff. So, I definitely feel like this is energy that has been building up, not just building up, but has been occurring the past week, not just with all of the water energy, but even as you can kind of see, even in our bottom of the deck with the King of Swords and with our guidance with all of the bubbles, I always relate that to the mix of energies with the water and the air. So if you just want to start here with the current energies, we have this Nine of Wands with this Seven of Swords. Let me make sure I'm getting these in the angles right. All right, so on both sides, there's a lot of fire and air. There's just a lot of this brewing of a flame and the water. I mean, not just the water, but the air, encouraging it, helping to guide it where it needs to go. Not just guide it where it needs to go, but I'm seeing the flame, just as I mentioned the fire dragon yesterday, of clearing our pathway and kind of using the air to help it go where it needs to go. You know, fire can spread on its own, but water, I keep wanting to say water. Air is a catalyst. So just off top, the energy is feeling very heavy, very thick. I feel like it's even palpable for a lot of us, where it just feels it's not really just heavy, but it's like it feels very karmic. It feels very just spiritually charged. And like we're really pushing through, having really pushed through not just struggles, or having to push through a lot of this like marshy, like that's the kind of energy I think of when I think of this grand water trine that we have, or that we've had, and it's kind of actually starting to peter out. So let me see. I believe there's actually something else I want to mention. Yeah, I mentioned like moving out of this water trine, and I'll mention it in the weekly, but we're moving into the fire. And so I feel, as I mentioned before, this feeling of like water baptism, this feeling of the water kind of slushing things around, just like the way, I'm thinking of just like the way you wash dishes, and you might pour water into like a pan or something and let it sit so that the debris could come up. That's kind of the way that I am seeing the way this water energy has been working. It's just been kind of sitting there with the Jupiter and Scorpio, and then like all of the air and the fire and just the friction of all the energies kind of helping to bring the debris up to the surface to be purged. Not just that, but I feel like with the Seven of Swords in reverse, I feel like this is speaking of us going back to deal with any issues that we've tried to bypass. I don't say like bypass, but just issues we've tried to bury underneath the surface. I feel like it just further goes with that theme of us dealing with like past life karmic lessons and past life issues. I don't want to look at it as issues, but just going through these cycles. We're working through a lot of these cycles that we're working to close. That's the way I'm seeing it, with both the 9 and the 7 of us really trying to clean house. Also with the fact that we have this King of Swords on the bottom of us kind of being a bit more logical. With all of this water energy, we've been very much like in our emotions. I know I've been feeling it very highs and lows, but when the lows are low, it's just not even about so much being low, but it's about the reflections that I'm having to deal with personally that make me, I don't want to put it as make me feel low, but it just really makes me have to face, the darker parts of myself and really acknowledge those parts that I may keep trying to like toss in the back or try and cover up. So that's just my personal take, and so maybe others are feeling that as well, where when we don't acknowledge the truth or our truth, or we don't acknowledge the truth of the situations we're dealing with, it can feel a lot more painful, I feel, as when we continue to play the victim instead of really trying to step back and be self-aware and be, I'm not saying unemotional about it, but really embodying like that King of Swords, even the Queen of Swords energy we had yesterday of still being able to reach some sort of sense of objectivity. And I even feel that here with this Knight of Swords in reverse. I've been getting a lot of reverse cards here for the advice section, so I kind of been taking it as not really what not to do, but more of this actually bringing up the things we need to pay attention to. So I'm seeing this side more often as, okay, that is the current energies, and then this is bringing attention to the things that maybe we're not acknowledging. So I feel with this Knight of Swords and the Strength, it's about us not finding the balance between our emotions and our mental. I'm feeling it's we go one way and then we go the other. Like we get drowned in our feelings and then we get super, in the air and like, well, what really matters. And so I feel like there's really trying to find this balance between what we care about and what really matters. I mean, that's kind of the axis of Cancer and Capricorn in a nutshell of, what nurtures us, what makes us feel good, what makes us feel safe and comfortable versus, what the structure currently is looking like and what we have to do as far as, what's the word I would put? Kind of like work and play. Like the Cancer part is our feelings, and then the Capricorn is, the work, the legacy. What is it that we have to get done? What is it that we have to do? What are the lessons that need to be learned? What structures need to be in place, or what structures actually need to be taken down as we're seeing that they're failing us in certain ways. So that's kind of the way that I've been seeing this past energy of really needing to release expectation, certain structures, certain standards that we kind of hold on to, that it's not even about it being unrealistic, but it's about making room for unconditional love, making room for accepting others, not even really others. Like, it's more about the focus on yourself, of accepting yourself as you are in that moment, and just working on being self-aware so that you're able to see the patterns and you're able to notice what's going on so that you're able to make the differences. But I feel like with the sword energy, the focus is on our mental, not just the mental. Again, as I mentioned, with the bubbles, I feel like the point is for us to acknowledge our feelings. The point is for us to be truthful about how we feel in the situation, but not to be completely drowned by it or to be completely deluded by it. Even the way I kind of am thinking of the bubbles, when you look through bubbles or you look at bubbles, it's a distorted kind of look because it's got, it's, I don't know how to put it, but you know what I mean. It just has a distorted look. And so I'm also kind of seeing that too, as even the bubbles kind of being representative of different emotional aspects or perspectives. And this, wrestling with that, acknowledging that, just being able to take a more worldly approach, a more outside looking in approach. So the way I'm also seeing this, another way of putting it is, when we are unbalanced with our emotions and our logic, then there's this unbalance with our inner strength and our inner control of our ego and our spirit. And so again, as this card comes up, I believe this came up yesterday, or maybe it came up during, I keep forgetting which reading it is, since I keep recording several readings a day. But either way, I'm just seeing this as us really having to work on our root, us, opening, more of our third eye, working with that, clearing our third eye, clearing our heart. But it all starts, or not just all starts, but it all boils down to the root, boils down to our stability and who we are and our truest essence. So, is there anything else? I just wrote down just a few more notes about the transits. We have a very loose square this morning between Venus and Mars, and then on the other ends it's Uranus and the Jupiter and the Moon conjunction that's beginning. So again, with the Venus and Mars, with our desires and our pleasures, with what nurtures us and what drives us, really trying to find a balance, but also using the opportunities for growth, to integrate and balance these energies. There's deep psychological expansion and not just revolutionary changes in our behavior, but it's all just very alchemic, very transmutative energy and a very alchemic process going on. Even the King of Swords, the way that I look at the King of Swords, which I could be completely wrong, I'm not entirely sure what it technically is, but I do see this as like Mercury in Cancer when it's mastered, when it's calm and composed amidst the emotional and the mental whirlpool. Even if you can see in this card the way it's got like this little tornado, but I'm not sure if it's a tornado, if it's really more like a whirlpool, like I mentioned, with like the water and the air being mixed. But either way, you can also just see like the sword being able to wield its truth in a balanced and level way. Oh, and then underneath there was the Queen of Cups. Didn't even realize. And then underneath, Queen of Cups. So with these together, there's definitely this, self-awareness, being able to take a more, just a more logical approach, a more open, not just open-minded, but ability to take a very intimate and very kind of psychological look at what's going on, being able to see past the illusions and or not even just illusion, I kind of like prefer the word like maybe simulation, like being able to see through the simulation in order to really see what the essence of the lesson is, instead of getting caught up in like all the itty bitty details of what's going on. Really trying to take a step back, seeing even where maybe your actions trigger certain things, or even just looking at how, the patterns get set off. And with these are patterns, again, with heart blocks, with the heart chakra blocks, with not just heart chakra blocks, but this is another swords card. So this is all in our mind. It's not about wounds that I feel have happened recently. These are just PTSD is the word that comes to mind. So it's like these are traumas that have over time really etched into our psyche and really etched into our programming, our mental programming. So we're really having to, in a way, kind of like erase. Even the way I kind of see in the air of like erasing. But I also pulled an angel oracle card just to kind of give an extra clarification or just extra insight. And so we have Kushael, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and it's the angel of punishment. And I'm just going to read a little bit about it. I don't want to induce too much fear, but I'm actually seeing this more as how, as I mentioned, about this really just being a karmic time. Like, it's just very, we're in this very karmic portal where we have the opportunity to change the way we've done things, or the way that we have reacted to things in the past, or the way we have handled certain situations or lessons in the past, and able to rewrite it. That's the way I'm looking at it. The way that they do discuss this card in the little pamphlet that they offer is the hunter whose prey is falsehood. And so it's not even about punishment, about necessarily being right or wrong, but it's about when we're not acting in our truth, when we are attaching to the programs and we're attaching to the things that we've told ourselves, or to the harm that we have felt, instead of releasing that and grasping on more to who we truly are, to our true identity. And so it even further mentions about the consequences of breaking your word, of breaking your sword. It doesn't really harm anyone but yourself. You know, if you were to break a sword, or even if you imagine when glass shatters, the pieces break and they're sharp, and then they are able to pierce your flesh a lot deeper and a lot more painful, honestly, in ways where it can kind of be even harder to get out of the skin. Which, actually, now that I think about it, I feel like even that is very very interesting to think about. Like, as the further you break down your truth, the more insidious it becomes. So, actually, I think I'm just going to end it at that. I hope that resonated and left you with some insight, or just some things to think about this morning or today. I am going to be working on the weekly reading. I've already got that going and everything. Rest in peace to my laptop that I just got. I mean, it was pre-used. It was from my sister, but I really loved it, and I had it for maybe like 2 weeks, and it seems to be dead. So I have a video that I've recorded for summer solstice, but it's on my camera, so there's really no way for me to move it from my camera to my phone. So I've got to borrow someone's laptop to get that, because I really do want to still get that up. But otherwise, check out the dailies from the rest of this week. You can check out the weekly forecast that I put up as well before I put up this new weekly forecast. You can also check out the new moon in Gemini reading if you want to just look into that before I put out the full moon in Capricorn reading. We have the full moon coming up this next week, so just feel like shift after shift after shift. So hopefully we're able to just keep up and just ride the wave, right? So yeah, I think I'm just leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. I not only appreciate it, but I'm honored to share space and be able to communicate with you guys, and just hopefully be able to make community, because it can feel lonely when you're going through a lot of these, these changes. It can feel very isolating. So, don't hesitate to reach out to me or speak with me or any of that. I'm very personable, and I'm very much, wanting to connect with others, other like-minded people. So with all that said, I hope you all have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see y'all later. So until then, bye-bye.